Oh, all righty. Good morning, everybody, or afternoon, I guess I should say.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to Summit Collective's Collective Foundations, a Wednesday meeting that we have every week at noon, talking about business-related topics. Today's topic, we're going to be talking about how to stand out in a competitive job market. So first and foremost, the question that I'm going to put on the table just to start this conversation, to y'all is, what makes an individual stand out in personal life, like just in everyday walking around, and in a business regard? What make people stand out to you?
Well, I would say that the person would have to be, say competitive, but I would say the person would have to be sincere in what they're doing and have a clear outlook on their approach and cause them to be able to, be noticed, you know what I'm saying? So they can stand out, but not be flamboyant or nothing like that there, but just to be, honest and to be courteous.
Yes, for me, it's just to be, a good listener. That's one thing that makes you stand out. When you're a good listener, and the reason why we say that is because then in the job field, if somebody's asking you something or telling you to do a task, well, if you didn't write it down or you didn't know, that's the thing, that you didn't listen to what they said, then probably the task is not going to be completed.
Right.
So the good thing to stand out is to know, because that's what the boss will come back to you, or the person will come back to you, so they know you're listening. Can you do this task? And then take off on it. So that would be mine.
Yeah. Me, I would say, in like my personal life, things that definitely stand out to me are just like out there personalities. I would say like very energetic people always stand out to me a lot. In the business regard, I would definitely agree with the listening aspect. Also on my side, I would say like the professionalism an individual has, how they carry themselves, how they interact with people. And that's something that we're going to talk about today, because I would say today is not going to focus on the skills as much as it is going to focus on the person. Just because I will say in today's job market, qualifications aren't the only thing. Right. An individual can always stand out, having all the degrees and accolades and business experience in whatever field that they're in. But not everybody has that. So I'm gonna focus more on like the personality aspect, and certain things that individuals are looking for, like the values that they have, the reliability that they have, just being the person, how reliable they are, and if they have any type of uniqueness, which I would say at this point in time inside of business, in a lot of cases, people are given a blueprint and not necessarily operating how they would inside of that business realm. So do you bring a uniqueness to yourself too? Those are all things that I said we'll talk about. So speaking on ourselves too, if y'all can see this thing right here, there is a little QR code that y'all can scan to get a little bit of information on what we have, things we have going on, events, different meetings that we also have on weekly or monthly basis.
That's the link tree.
It has a link tree. It has different social medias, all of that good stuff. So feel free to check that out. Learn a little bit more about us. Okay. So continuing on to in y'all's opinion, what makes a person be remembered in a positive manner, right? Inside of a business realm? Is that a skills thing or is that a personality thing?
I would say that would be both skills and personality, because if you come to the table with something that's of good quality, as far as yourself is concerned, and you bring something with you that we can hold on to, I think that would be something that we can adhere to and say, well, that person has a great quality within themselves to keep other people motivated to do things that can cause us to prosper.
Yeah. That.
Well, I think it is, when you say personality, I think that does matter a lot. But it depends on the job that you're doing as well. If you're dealing with people, like it or not, your personality gonna have to be, I mean, really, pleasant for people. I understand every day won't be. And I understand it. And I'm not saying I guess I'm not saying to fake it, but you have to understand that. You know what I mean? We have a lot of things going on with us when we do come in the doors, when we work, but that has to stop. I mean, we're running a camp right now, with little kids, and you got to understand, little kids rambunctious. So, it's one of those things. They can read you, what I mean, when it comes to that too. So it's like you gotta have but my thing is being, definitely being vocal about it as far as, but as a business owner or whatever, if I'm telling you down the pike this is coming, if you have any, kind of anxieties about it or something like that, I think you should maybe not, in open, but actually, pull the boss aside or have a meeting with them and tell them I'm not really comfortable with that. So communication is key too, to being comfortable with, something, but especially in the people, when you're dealing with people, this is the way it is. As and that's the thing, you gotta really have a good personality,
Absolutely.
and it goes a long way.
Absolutely.
It goes a long way, personality, and then treating people and respecting them as well. So it goes a long way.
Absolutely. Yeah. So definitely, I can agree with you how you said like the skills and the personality of an individual. Um, Touching back on that uniqueness, like I feel like inside of the business realm, a lot of people take their own personality outside, or take it away from themselves in order to kind of fit in inside of a business realm. Because we do have like a blueprint for professionalism inside of business. Not everybody abides by that blueprint, but I mean, there is a basis of how you are supposed to act. I mean, the definition of professionalism is how you're supposed to act in a professional realm. So that is a huge aspect, I think, of what makes an individual stand out. Like, think about it inside of a job interview realm. You know, if you walk in there and you're monotone and you just straight to the point, quick answers, any questions that you have, maybe asked real quick, stated in a certain specific way, that's usually not something that's going to stand out. I mean, even if that individual has the skills behind whatever they're looking for or something like that. Like, for example, the office that we have here, we have a very diverse group of people that work here. And inside of there, like, you can have many different skills to be able to work here. You can be good with people, you can be good with paperwork, things like that. And you could be a good driver, and that be enough to work here. But at the same time, because of the environment that we have, the amount of people that we work with, skills are not just enough. You have to be able to, we have to kind of know that an individual could intertwine and be able to mesh well with the individuals that are here, before anything else, right? The skills is always nice, and if they have those certain attitudes behind themselves, such as being initiative, showing initiative, or being adaptable, or something like that, then that is great. We know that's something you can always work with, but at the same time, you have to stand out in that matter of, is your personality going to be able to mesh well?
Yes.
And I think, like, I mean, even some people that we've had come through here, not speaking on anybody, like to the city, well, I guess that is in a way, but some individuals that came through here for work just didn't mesh with, on the people side.
Right.
And that is really something that can slow the gears down on a well-oiled machine, definitely slow down productivity, or even like on the initiative of learning new skills. If an individual listens well, then at that point, we know from that side of your personality, you'll be able to make it. You'll be able you'll mesh well, compared to an individual that doesn't. It just won't mesh. So do you think so thinking like personality versus skill, would you think that being reliable is possibly more important than being talented? Why or why not?
That's a really good question there. I would say that a person would need to be both reliable and come with good skills at the same time. Because if you're reliable, that would help us. But if you come reliable and you got the good skills that would be able to keep us afloat,
Mhm.
that would make things a whole lot better. Because even if you're reliable, but you know you don't have that drive that's needed for the position, that would slow things down.
Absolutely.
So that's how I would say that.
All right, so switching the question on just a little
Real
bit
quick,
for
real quick.
yeah.
So, this is a sports term, but it works in business too. What's the best ability?
Mhm.
Availability.
Mhm.
If you're not available, it doesn't really matter if you have all the ability to work. If you're not available to do the job, that doesn't really, I mean, that's good. He has a lot of skills. He don't show up for work, or she don't show up for work.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right,
So
that's right.
a lot of times it's being responsible, being reliable more than anything.
Right.
To me, I mean, really, being reliable and ready to learn, or
Absolutely.
willing to learn. So
Yeah.
that was all.
So, which I mean, that kind of answered the question how I was going to state it, which was going to be, which would you rather have? The individual who is very reliable but doesn't have much talent or skill related to the field that we're in, or the other individual that's very talented, knows all the skills needed to do the job, but isn't a very reliable individual.
Mhm.
Well, I think, to me, honesty is being reliable. I mean, if I didn't know how to do it, I mean, I was going to, and I know that sounds crazy. How can you tell the boss you don't know how to do something? Well, you're willing to learn, though. You know what I mean? It's a thing about willing to learn as well. And if it doesn't put them too far behind, being able to teach you those skills as well along the way. But once you get there for a while, or I've told you already, I know the skill, then you realize, well, maybe they don't. It's kind of a little downer, kind of when you say, because this thing's in place. You run up on it more now than anything. I think is when you're doing multiple things on a job. I mean, I guess it's more of that than anything. What I guess, that's for me. I mean, as a business owner, I have to learn that. But that's just, and I know this may not relate, but it's kind of like a restaurant, right? That specializes in hamburgers, right? But now they're going to be a pizza place. Well, how can you, right? So what are we specializing in? You know what I mean? And then you're bringing people in. Well, I know about hamburgers, but I don't know much about pizza. So I can come and interview you, Elder McCray. I've been, I've been in a pizza joint. I didn't, work the pizza joint maybe. Then, but then I get you in there, man. You say, hey, what do you put in the dough? And huh? You know what I mean? I'm like, well, what's going on here? You know what I mean? But you impress me with your words, to get you in there to start running this pizza joint. You don't know how to run it no more than I do. You know what I mean? So it's like, what's going on here? You know what I mean? So, but now I got this on my plate. I got to learn. I already put it out there that I'm a hamburger place, but now doing pizza, I got to get somebody to do it. So now I'm behind more than I would have been before. Man, you know what I mean? And that's one of the things as business, adding things onto your business. It's all good, but if it's not well thought out, I'm just going to tell you by experience, it don't work that well. I'm just telling you, it doesn't work that well. It doesn't. But I mean, doing it for the right reasons is one, but you got to find that right person. So that was just one of the things.
Well, I also think people come, they say they have all the qualifications that you're looking for. If I give you this piece of paper which is my resume, and I turn it over, and I say, we're not going to look at this, but you asking me all these questions, and you saying, can I run a pizza joint? And I'm like saying, hey man, I need his job.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's gonna run out, but eventually it's gonna run out. Yeah, so eventually we're gonna find out he don't know how to run that pizza joint. He don't know. Then what we do? Then I'm kind of got some reservations. Right. I mean, instead of just saying, I don't know a lot about it, but I'm willing to learn.
Right.
I mean, let it be, my choice to bring in. But at least I know. Then I know what he don't really. Then we can mold you or whatever. Then we don't know together.
Right.
You know what I mean? But at least we can try. You know what I mean? Whatever. So.
Yeah. Sorry, Mike. I ain't jumping that quick.
Good. Yeah. So I'd say that is a very big point of standing out inside of that competitive job market. First and foremost, it's just outright standing out. So kind of what I was saying is like there are certain traits I would say that can really make an individual stand out if they don't have the skills needed in whatever realm that there is, such as like added your attitude, your initiative, the drive that you have. So like an example of this would be, you got two people apply to a warehouse job. One submits a regular application, the other one follows up with a professional email, includes maybe a little video intro, connects their LinkedIn profile. Who stands out more at that point? You know, each individual couldn't have done the exact same things. If you even look at it on the basis of those individuals had the exact same resume or something like that, it was actually the individual who just took those extra steps upon themselves to say, hey, I want this job. In a sense, I'm glad that you gave me your time and was able to meet with me, stuff like that. I'm going with that person. You know, I mean, I assume it'd be the same,
Right.
just because it shows outright. Nobody asked them to do that. You know, they didn't need to. You know, and if that's something that, even if they don't, you know, but if that's something that they would do inside of the business, then our business might be that much better. You know, so I would say first way, make yourself stand out. Next, build them personal brands. Okay, so your personal brands is simply what people think of you, what people say about you when you're not around. You know, and I know that a lot of people, how a lot of people kind of operate is that you don't care what anybody thinks about you. You know, I am who I am, and I'm not saying don't be who you are, but your brand of person is very important inside of a business realm. You know, especially if it's any type of business where you're going to be involved a good bit, where your face might be involved in some way, or anything like that, right? Because people, it doesn't matter. I mean, I'm sure people have seen stories about an individual doing something in their personal life, and then somehow it tracks all the way back to their job and they lose their job. But that's because their brand isn't on par with the business's brand. So that's another big thing, especially when we're talking in a realm of career. Because I mean, say I'm working at a smaller spot that I don't plan on working at my whole life, you know, that might not be a place, say something like fast food. That might not be a place where they go and look at my socials and look at anything like that. But if you flip the script and say, I'm trying to be a lawyer or something like that, well, they're gonna check all boxes. You know, they're gonna really look into your background and check to make sure, is this person that we are adding on to our place, is it a person that is going to do the company justice? Because I mean, thinking to this business right here, you know, either the Summit Collective or the Donakey side. If an individual really does have a crazy wild presence on social media, or they're known for acting a certain way by a mass amount of people, that probably isn't a person that we can have working here, because we work with children, we work with kids, we work with different types of funding, like certain things we have to abide by. So it's very important. And I will say, when I say build your brand too, I'm not talking about being an influencer or something like that. I'm talking about more of the realm of just making sure certain things is reeled in. You know, you don't have to have, I mean, I know it's a big thing at this point in time, but you don't have to have your whole life on socials and things like that, especially if you don't want to. But those are things that kind of go into your brain.
That's true.
Right? So kind of thinking more of like how individuals act inside of the job, because this is not just a social thing. Your brand is how you act in public, anywhere. I mean, even just walking down the street, you know. Granted, you might not be thinking in that realm, but that is the scope of your brand. It's your full brand. Question: do you think that people should edit themselves for a job? You know, do you think that, like, almost like that fake it till you make it round? Like, do you think editing themselves, or sometimes we might say code switching or something like that, do you think that is something that should be done to protect your brand? Or kind of, do you think it's something that should be done or not done because you should fix your brand?
Well, I believe, Mike, I think that a person should be as honest as they possibly can. Because if I come to Mr. Burton and I say, Mr. Burton, I want to switch jobs, and I need a resume from him, if I'm dishonest with who I am at his company, of course, quite naturally, he's not going to give me a good recommendation for me to go to another company. So I think that the person needs to be as honest as they possibly can, so that they can be, like if you honest, you might go further. I mean, I might not put you down. You know what I'm saying? I might not say I can't give you this resume because it is going to look bad on me if he gives me a resume, a good resume, a good recommendation, and I'm not who I say I am, it looks bad on him. So I think a person should be as honest as they possibly can.
Okay. What you think?
Well, I mean, as far as editing yourself, I mean, I do think you should, when I say not, well, basically sell yourself, I do think, definitely highlight the things you're good at. I know nowadays it's like, well, why would you go in there and say things you're not good at? Well, just be willing to, verse it in a way where I'm willing to learn it. So maybe I'm saying I'm not very good. Now, here's the thing. One of the things, here, well, not so much with the summit, but summit's a lot about, community and helping and serving the community. But with Donahue, a lot of times we deal with computers a lot. So I think that's the question when you go to honesty. If I ask you that, well, I'm good at this, this certain thing. So I guess that is editing. I'm good at Word, but I'm not so, I'm learning more about Excel. So I know now, oh, okay, they can type Word, but Excel they may not know, and they may need to learn. But if you say, yeah, I'm, well versed in, Microsoft Excel and Word, and I'm like, well, you can't, and I know this has came up. That's why I say that. But it always sticks with me. You know what I mean? Because I'm not asking you to go me, you know what I mean? I'm very open. Like, so when we have an interview, I'm very open, but just in being open to learn. A lot of times it's just being open to learn things as well, along the way. But in my mind, I'm not going to set you up to, hey, go ahead and make this Excel sheet right now, on the second day. I'm not telling you that, but, I want you to gear up for it. This is what we do. We load all our stuff up on Excel so we can make sure we have it. Why don't you get with somebody? I'll get you, get with somebody to do that. But you have to be able to do, to learn. But then again, you have to be able to, like I said, so I guess the editing is more or less what you want to tell. I mean, more than anything, what you want to be not trying to be funny, being honest about. That's what I mean? And if you, that's why it's not trying to be funny or to not trying to sell it, but that's why, Collective Foundations, or, you come in and we teach you, some things about the resume, some things about interview. Because, I'm not saying to go in and say, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't do that. I ain't saying that. But there is a way to, go about it by saying certain things, we'll teach you, how to say, I'm willing to learn this or, some new things. So, that's just one of the things you talk about. But that's the thing, having a plan is better than not having a plan at all. And that's the thing. So sometimes you can come in here, nobody, like you come in and get help. It was somebody in here yesterday, updating his resume. It was fine. He wanted to check it and make sure that was it. He knows, that he doesn't want food service, but it's getting down to that. But he's willing to understand that. And I didn't say it, he said it. But when I first talked to him, we talked a little bit about it, and he just told me what he didn't want to do. So I was fine. He wasn't still sad on it, but he was just telling me that. But now he's open to it because he sees now it's harder to get these other jobs. And you got to start somewhere. So,
yeah. So I'm curious about your answer to this one. Speaking on like code switching. So you're saying being truthful as possible. So what about an individual who may not speak in the same regard as they do, like at home and at work? Do you think it's editing yourself or not being truthful to switch up the way you're speaking to accommodate the person across from you?
Well, if a person is not going to be truthful at home and make himself available to his family, then something is, something. I don't know if I wouldn't be a psychologist to say that something is wrong, but something might be wrong.
Good.
I couldn't.
It'd be tough to do that, though.
I couldn't do. I couldn't say that I could put myself in that shoe. You know what I'm saying?
It could be tough. It could be tough to do that one though, because you don't know what I do.
I don't know.
When I go home, you know what I mean. So it's like that would be tough.
Yeah.
What I would say, this is just me. What I would tell them, because in our office, it's all walks of life come in. I'm just letting you know that.
You couldn't.
So I know it's hard, but on a job, you have to be objective. All right. You have to be open to certain things. But at home, you don't have to be if you don't want to be. You sometimes are subjective. It just runs into problems when you start to be subjective at the job. It just does. And a lot of what I mean by that is even the fact of being objective about maybe there's a bigger plan. I mean, we do, some travel things, right? We do, work with, travel. I mean, it's doing motive care transport or whatever. That's what we do in Donkey, right? But here's the thing. There's definitely different routes that we take every day in different cities. But what they didn't understand, being open to it, sometimes you're putting them in a place because you're going to excel better in that place. But in the realm, you'd be like, well, I never get to get up to this area. But maybe you're not strong enough to get to that area. But instead of me telling you that, I'm putting you to succeed in this area. But people, like I told you, they subjective. They think, well, they just don't want me up here. You can think that, but that's not the bigger picture is you're being successful. That's the thing. I don't want you to be deterred by the fact that, and maybe you will work up to that. I was terrible. I mean, going back to 19 years old, I just got, well, no, I was 20. So I just got out of college. So I had to work, I had to get a job. And I was a waiter. I was terrible. I was terrible. I was just terrible. Number one, I didn't want to do it. Let's get that right. I just didn't, but shoot, I had to get a job. But then when I figured out, well, this is what you do. You serve people. So, and when I was beneath it, wasn't that. I really wasn't very good at it. I wasn't organized, none of that. So, I mean, that's what happened, at first, But then, of course, I got better at it, But the more effort I put into it, the better it was. But it was just one of those things like, it's like, man, what is, going on here? But I always could see the people that was, getting all the money. They had all, the tabletops. They had like 8 people and stuff like that, because that's how you get paid, as far as your tips or whatever. I would only get 2 tops and stuff like that. So I'm up there by the kitchen. They got me waiting up. Ain't nobody want to sit by the kitchen. But that's what that's the tables I was getting. So I say, well, shoot, I'm gonna have to learn this. I'm gonna make some money. Because before I was just trying to pay my car payment. I ain't care nothing about that. It was like real low. So I was just trying to pay it to do that. But in life, you have to learn. Then to succeed, you have to, gain more skills. Even if it is being a waiter, you have to gain more skills. But it taught me how to be more organized, though. So it was a good job. So I mean, it's one of the things we talk about. But yeah.
But one more thing: if we have an employee working for us, and their home life pushes into our job life, then I would go to you or Don or somebody, whoever else is in charge, say, hey, I think, maybe something could be wrong. I don't know. I'm just saying, I wouldn't want nothing to affect the personality of me between the person. So I would try to confront somebody that's maybe over a little higher in the job field that we're in, to go and try to see, confront the guy or confront the person, whoever may. I'm not saying that they're here. I'm not saying that they're here, but I'm saying to be able to confront them, to say, hey, is everything all right? I mean, because we don't want nothing, all right. I mean, that's.
Well, I think when you said that, remember I think you first started, when you started talking about, some selling qualities of yourself. One thing I didn't mention is doing the little things. When you start to do the little things, I know it sounds crazy, but a person that, that's running a business, they will see those things, just the little things you do. I know it sounds crazy, like the reason why I say that, because once those little things are being done, then they can give you more big things. But if they don't see you doing those things, and that's to me, like, what's going on with, Mike, he usually here on time. Now he ain't. That's what you're saying. He's always showing up on time, which I know this person here don't. But this one, he always has something going on, and then, definitely that's when you start to see those, not doing those little things, you start to see maybe some things going on and just, coming to him. Because once that happens, then you have to start checking. Well, shoot, I don't even know if he's going to be here, you know what I mean? And stuff like that. So it's just good to check those little things and then start to, but people don't, I don't know, because it's all scattered here. So it doesn't seem like I pay attention, but not like I'm writing it down on the pad and I'm like, I'm paying attention though. You know what I mean? Because there's going to come a time where,
absolutely,
we're going to have to ask, what's going on? So.
Okay, so speaking on that personal brand, that can include things from your clothing, your tone, the way you operate on social media, your work ethic, all of that stuff. So, next question I have for y'all, and y'all can also give any suggestions if you have them. Um, what do you think a person can do to shift their reputation if people currently don't see it as the best? Like, so speaking on their brand, if their brand is not looked at in a positive light, but they would like to shift it into a positive light, is that something that is possible? And if so, what suggestions would you have for that?
Well, say that a person, it's not a dress code here, you know what I'm saying? But it it would be proper for a person that if you're going to come to a job or you're going to come to a workplace, to be appropriate, you know what I'm saying, to have yourself looking appropriate, because that would be the best thing to do. I mean, now if you leave here and you going to the park or whatever, you know what I'm saying, you might change clothes, I don't know,
Mhm.
but while you're at work, or you need to be appropriate for the work, for the job, so that you can look appropriate and you know work, be able to do the job that's need to be done here. I mean,
Yeah, it's funny you say, because I mean, you two are dressed up, but I'm not. You know what I mean? I got shorts on, but the thing about it, but I am dressed appropriate for the job, because I was just, with the campers, and we was outside. You know what I'm saying? It's hot.
we just pulled you in.
Well, that's what I said, but that's the thing, though. But that's the thing, But that's the thing about being objective.
Mhm.
One would say and walk in there and say, "Well, Dad, look at he ain't even dressed right. Look at all these other people. They dressed. Look at him." But that's what I said. So being objective. So same thing with the owner or a business, being objective about it, instead of not just coming to conclusions about what you may think,
Right,
because you never know.
yeah,
I mean, you never know. I mean, and that's the thing. So you don't want to sell anybody short either. So you don't know that. So
well, I mean, there's different parts of the workplace, you know what I'm saying? You out in the field with the
Right.
children,
Right.
things of that nature. So that makes it good. And we just pulled you in, which was a plus for us.
Mhm.
But I'm saying, if a person is going to be in a position, I think that they should, dress the part. I mean, they don't have, it's not that there's a dress code where you got to, I'm saying, but you should be able to, once be
Yeah.
able to uh, dress the part. So when you leave here, you can do it however you want. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying, but while you're here, you should be able to, dress the part or look the part. I'm saying.
All right, what you think? Is a bad personal brand or reputation something that can be turned around? And if so, how?
Well, okay. I guess the question would be from the employers, since it's how did it become bad? Was it bad when what I mean? Was it bad when
Okay. Fair at the site.
then if that's the case, then I'm not, if as a business owner, I'm not, following my own, wanting people to be objective when they come in. If I'm being subjective before they come in, then what is it? You know what I mean? But I mean, then again, like I said, but if I take a chance, on them or whatever,
Mhm.
then hopefully, now I know that I have to be better, what I mean, in order to mold them in the way that, and show them as well, what I mean, being here on time, beating them to the job, what I mean, and also working, maybe, and that's the thing, working or being able to show them that you will do everything that I ask you to do. And if I didn't, I'll tell you, listen, I don't really know, because I do, like I said, I was just in the computer room just a minute ago over another side, but I'm in the lit lab. But that thing about it was, I mean, it's just like, I mean, I know about computers, I really do, but I mean, I've been out of loop a while, and I had said it, in times before that. But I got some younger people, they snapping on it, buddy. So they know it. So you know what I mean? Right. So that's the thing. So I yield to them a little bit, but I still know a little bit about it. But I wanted to run Chris with, for I mean, you got, camp going on, kids like, get on there and stuff like that. So right now, the bigger picture is to keep them engaged. So I mean, that's what we do. But you got to be objective about it. You can't be subjective about certain things. But then again, like I said, for you have to draw the line as well. You know that. So there is actually a dress code here. You know what I mean? There is, it is. I mean, and like I said, normally we don't I ain't gonna say you don't adhere to it, but it is a dress code.
Mhm.
It's just like inappropriate stuff and things like that, which I don't know I'll ever see. And that's the thing. But we would address it if we needed to. I mean, but it's nobody on them saying, "Oh, you need to do this," whatever. But hopefully they know by how we dress. I mean,
Right, right.
Um, on this side, I would say that it definitely is something that is completely possible to change around that brand, but it is something that takes a lot of work. Because kind of how we talked about that brand, like how many different things it covers, like your clothing. So you might have to change around the way you're dressed if it's associated with that bad brand. The way you speak or the words that you say may need to be changed if it's associated with that brand. Same with your social media and your work ethic, which an individual changing around their work ethic is something tough because it involves you operating outside of the realm that you are used to. I think to maintain a good brand and to turn around a bad brand, turn around that bad brand is something that is much more difficult because you do have to work so much harder for them to see you a certain way, because you were seen back here, on the side of your branding or however you may have operated. So certain ways to do that, first and foremost, I mean, kind of how they said working inside of a certain realm, like work, show that you're willing to do whatever it takes and actually do it. Be the individual that is about their word and really is changing things around. If it's like a social media thing, in most cases, I mean, things that go on the internet are forever to an extent, but that don't mean you can't delete things off your social media.
That's right.
That doesn't mean an individual, if you delete stuff on there, I mean, it's forever, but at the same time, they might not find it immediately or ever. So I guess that kind of ties back into that fake it till you make it type situation. I mean, you knew you were like this to a certain extent. And then if we need to change things around, that's something that does take time, but you actually have to show it. You have to work hard and actually know what the goal is. And so that takes a certain level of self assessment, analyzing what aspects of your brand are seen as bad, and then working hard to change that, focusing on them aspects that need the most changing, and then maintaining, which because I mean, if an individual already has a good personal brand without actually ever thinking about their brand or operating a certain way, then they just naturally have a good brand. Maintaining is something that's not going to be hard because it's operating in their regular way. A person who has to change there, that's not typically how you act, and that shows from what your brand used to be.
Right.
So that's not how you normally act. You have to consciously think about maintaining and operating a certain way. And some people may think about it in like that's an easy thing to do, to just act a certain way. I might be in modern day Denzel, but I can't act all the time.
No, you're right. No, you're right. You're right.
But like an example of that might be like, okay, if an individual is operating like, okay, you're operating in a business regard, okay, you suit and tie, suits, walk around all the time, and an individual comes up to you inside of your workplace talking to you crazy. In your old brand, maybe you're an individual that might have put hands on somebody or something like that. I don't know. So switching to this new brand, if they're sitting there getting at you, talking to you a certain way, do you think certain feels from that old brand won't pop up? So that's that level of maintaining. Are you going to be able to stay cool and collected if you're of that type of individual, or is that brand going to pop back up? And be hands and feet and all that good stuff. So it's really things to think about.
I think it's a atmosphere type thing also. Once you go under an atmosphere that doesn't either allow that or you see it a lot, then it will sometimes make the modeling can make them the person, kind of like you said, with that bad brand, kind of come in the fold, and start to learn, even by looking at it, oh shoot, they do this, doing, stuff like that, and grow. Basically, we got a mix. Of course, I'm older, but we got a mix of people that, even work here. And a lot of them are younger. You know what I mean? And all of them are different, you know what I mean? And so, but if you kind of model this way, you know what I mean, and hopefully they'll start to take, take heed and understand that, you know what I mean, that, this is how, they do it here. You know what I mean? Even though, like I said before, at Sam's, when he was at Sam's, you know what I mean? West Virginia paving, there's rules, there's, conduct, but then there's, those unwritten ones as well. And that I'm sure, in your job, I mean, really in this one too, but safety is key and paving and also it's at Sam's, safety is key, you know what I mean? And trust in your employees, here's a little different. I'm not saying not, but here's a little different, but you have to have that, or you ain't gonna have much, and that's the thing. So you gotta either model it and then let them catch on, or and understand that. But for us, I guess it would be more confidentiality and things of that nature. You know what I mean? Making sure, you're not, at the end of the day, oh, you remember that person came in there dirty and all this stuff. I mean, those people know stuff definitely. I mean, we've had, events where people came in,
right,
shoe events,
right,
came in. Well, yeah,
stuff.
definitely like that. But you wouldn't think that, what I mean. But that's the thing, you never know, man. It's definitely when you're dealing with the community, and you gotta be ready for anything as far as that, not in a bad way, but really, you can blow your mind also with the things that's going on. So,
well, I mean, as leaders, you wouldn't want for me to have me walking around with a tablet, you know what I'm saying? Me and Mike walking around with tablets, looking at everybody, writing stuff down. It would make them feel very uncomfortable, first of all, and then they would want to know, my work. We would see a decline in their work productivity
and productivity.
Yeah, because they wonder, well, why me and Mike walking around, with this tablet and looking at us and writing. It would make them feel uncomfortable. So I think that this to make them feel comfortable would be to let them not do their own thing, but have them to do the job that they're required to do. And then once it's time to go home, do what you want when you go home. But I mean, not make it seem like that they're a bad person. You know what I'm saying? Just trying to, say, well, we got something that we need to work on, that person may need to work on, but then everybody doesn't have to know that person was working on that certain situation.
Okay, so that would be the second one. Building that personal brand. Like we said, the first one, ways to stand out in that competitive job market. First of all, stand out. Second, build a good personal brand. If you don't know right now what your personal brand is, look at your friends, look at your family members, look at the individuals you hang out with. That you have the same brand as them. And even if you do not think that you do, or there are reasons that you're not the same as them, I always bring up perception and reality. Okay. If an individual is walking down, say you got three individuals walking down the street in suits, they're being seen as businessmen at that point in time. They're not, though. Say they're bank robbers instead. But to that average eye, the citizen walking down the street, they're businessmen walking down in suits. That's how they're being perceived. So in that person's reality, that's what they are. That reality doesn't change until they actually perceive them robbing a bank. Right? So at that point in time, like whatever an other individual perceive you, that's why I was talking about branding and what others think about you, because the way that they perceive you is your reality for that standpoint, especially if we're talking in a realm of like business, if you're talking to a manager or a boss, or even things like for certain situations, talking to people at the bank or something like that. If you go into an interview and you are a very professional person, typically a professional person, but the interviewer perceives you as being unprofessional inside of that interview, that's just what you are for that time being in their reality. So those are things to think about. Look at the people you're around, people you hang with. Typically, you're going to be perceived as the same as them. And if there are any young people watching this, I definitely say that for younger people. I know style they like is wearing them ski masks and things like that, And I mean, to a lot of people, it's not perceived as anything. You're just wearing a ski mask. To certain people, it can be perceived that you are a certain way or operating inside of a certain realm. And depending on where that may be at, that could change things for you. Could really make things difficult. So really take that into account. Who I'm with, how we're acting, just overall, what is my brand? Okay. So the third one would be resumes. Okay. You got to have a good resume. There are many ways that you can set your resume apart. One thing I will say, everybody should have a resume. It doesn't matter what position you're in, what company you work for, it doesn't matter. You should have a resume. You should update it every couple months. Okay. If you do it every couple months, then it takes no time to update the information that you've done since then. But first and foremost, you have I'd say about max about 10 to 15 seconds to wow somebody with your resume, to have them in tune with your resume. It doesn't necessarily mean an individual won't look at it after that. But think about a company like big company, Amazon, or well, let's say Google, okay? Because Google, their main office is a place that a lot of people want to work for. A lot of people want to be on that campus that they got doing whatever, you're driving scooters and working all that good stuff, sleeping pods and things. Inside of like the technology world, that's a big place to work, and they can't hire everybody, or they would probably have.
Right.
There'd just be too much people, too much overhead at that point, if you would. So they probably have thousands of resumes that they look through all the time. And of course, at this point in time, we do have, I mean, they probably use AI systems and things like that to look at the words and things that you put in a resume. So, first tip, use keywords from the job posting, the exact same words, so that if they are using that type of system, that AI will pick up that they are using that online system and say, okay, they're using a lot of matching words. Let's put this in the pile that gets seen by human eyes. Okay. Because then at that point in time, when I say 10 to 15 seconds, that's when you have your 10 to 15 seconds to actually grab the reader's attention. So a lot of people do that by putting the most important things that they have up front, the skills that they have or experience that they have, or maybe even just a statement up front, kind of saying what they're looking for aside the realm, a few things that they've done, so that they can really grab that attention. So speaking on like going back to like standing out, that's standing out on the resume side with the paper, actually grabbing the attention in the beginning. Show accomplishments too, not just tasks. I've seen many resumes. I've helped people work up their resume. I've seen finished resumes, people trying to get jobs. If you are in a standing where you have accomplishments too at your job, put your accomplishments in there, because it makes you look that much better. Okay. And that goes into even the way you word things, such as I helped at the cash register compared to handle $5,000+ in transactions per shift, right? It doesn't just say I was just at the cash register. It said the amount of work that you did while doing, which shows a whole lot more than I was just standing at that cash register. Because if I was standing at a cash register all day, 9-hour shift, but it's in a place that don't nobody work, well, then I'm just really just standing at a cash register, compared to so many thousands or whatever transactions that there may be. Same way like with other things on the work experience side. An example I always use is babysit. A lot of people just say babysitter in that experience, and maybe the time that they worked there, maybe a little bit of what they had to do, but what sounds better? An individual being a babysitter, or an individual delivered excellent, I'm sorry, wrong thing. That's the wrong one. Responsible for care, safety, and daily routines for 2 children, ages 3 and 6. Okay. Or on the other side, worked in a store compared to delivered excellent customer service and managed inventory in a fast-paced retail job. Okay. The two statements give a whole different connotation. I mean, it just brings out a whole lot more of saying the actual task that you were doing, and not just or what you accomplished in the task, and not just the task itself. Okay. Other things, um, give your resume to somebody else. Don't be the only person to look at it. Don't be the only. I mean, a lot of the times, even just minor little tweaks and changes can be a huge effect. But the more diverse eyes it gets, then you have a lot more people to help you make changes, get better. And I'd say diversity is good in all ranks. When you don't have diversity, you get groupthink. Um, so, you being a business owner, an individual who has probably seen a lot of resumes, what is something that you feel a lot of resumes are either missing completely or missing the mark on?
A lot of times, well, I mean, I think, being, like you said, it was good. You said that about being descriptive about the fact I did this, but you get a little bit more in depth in it. Because then I don't have to, like I said, if I, I know, how to type, but type on what?
Right.
Computer or your phone, what do you need to know how to type on? So I mean, it's a lot of that too. So
Words per minute.
right, being real descriptive about that, definitely, through the resume on the bullet points that you have, not just having just bullet points. Definitely being descriptive about it. So when we go over it, I can look back. Oh shoot, they done this. I mean, I just had an interview today. Had it, and that was one of the things that was on there about, what they did as far as the capacity or the trips they did, because it was for travel, but that was, helpful to me. You know what I mean? But anymore though, I mean, just having a resume, I know it sounds crazy, just having a resume with me is a big thing.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people now, they don't even seem like they're taking resumes, or not requiring them. But it's something when somebody has that resume, like you said before, even though they didn't require it, it's just that little extra to show, you spend a little time, sit down and kind of write down what your skills are, past jobs and things of that nature as well. So that's what I look forward to.
Yeah. Which another thing to add to, kind of I was talking about like using those keywords inside of the resume to make sure that possible AI system picks up those same words. Other things that you want to try to do is to use that to help you rewrite certain things if you want it to sound more professional. Now I don't recommend using the entire doing the entire thing on using AI system or something like that, because that is also something that can be picked up on too. And if an individual, if they are using one of those systems and the individual uses the entire AI to write their whole resume and then they submit that, it can pick it up and it can throw that resume away. Really know that, but that is something that can happen. So just be mindful of the amount. Definitely write some of it up your own, like use your own basis to start your resume. But then if you need a little professional push, then at that point, then maybe go ahead and tweak a few things.
But a simple thing, spelling.
Yeah.
Make sure your spelling is right on your resume. I know it sounds, but it is. Just got a real. I'm not gonna say the company got a real reputable company coming in. Doing some cleaning things for us, or some cleaning supplies. Well, if when you put something down, I mean, in somebody's business, you probably want to make sure that it doesn't have odor on it when they bring it, and because then it's smelling the whole place up. Now they're sitting outside, not saying any kind of organization, I'm just saying, but yeah, I mean, it matters. The little stuff matters. That's all I'm saying. I mean, if you're delivering something, don't just deliver it. If you're delivering a resume, make sure it's spelled out right.
Put it in a folder.
I mean, right. I mean, make sure it's right. I mean, just like with, Mike today, I mean, kind of moment's notice, to come do, Kollective Foundations, because I mean, and I'll plug here at the end, but so something we're going to, try to look at, but he comes with material, what I mean? And one thing, I'm getting ready to wrap up, but one thing you don't know is, I mean, because I'll tell you how old I am. I'm older, I'm 53, but so I've been in business for a while. But to walk up on Mike though, you wouldn't know it. So I've been around him for a couple of years, to they seem, and it's another person that's here that's young too, but they don't seem young to me, only because of how they act, they conduct themselves at work. I mean, and it's a, you know what I mean? It's a big difference. You know what I mean? When you do that, I mean, it's like message in, and it startles you, the fact that they say that how old they were. I mean, how, because you don't think that, I mean, even when I'm talking now, you don't think that, you know what I mean? But that's one thing about being objective. Nothing, I mean, I'm not telling him, he can tell his own story, but this wasn't his background. I mean, it was his background, but it wasn't. But maybe it was his background that maybe he was taught these things at an early age, by his parent or by his parents, you know what I mean? But that's the thing. But went in a totally different direction. But now he does this. So that's even being able to kind of, be, definitely adaptable, or, to a different kind of, definitely a different kind of environment, and learning from there, and then blossom yourself, you know what I mean, and doing these things, I ain't telling them bring these notes, you know what I mean, just be ready, you know what I mean, be ready, but what does be ready mean, you know what I mean, what does that mean? I'm ready, I'm dressed up, I'm ready to get in front of that camera, but what kind of material you gonna give them, you know what I mean, but we didn't go over that, but I know, call Mike, call this, another lady that works for me, call them, because I know they're gonna get the job done. I ain't gotta worry about it. You know what I mean? That's what you want, around you, people like that. Doesn't matter age. You know what I mean? Don't matter age. It'll blow you away to hear the age. You're like, huh? But that's what I'm saying. That's why having, foundations, and we can finish on that. That's why we do it. I mean, I know it seemed like, it's different. I mean, it is different, but it's stuff that we can't assume that people know. But it's not only this, what we're doing here as far as, this session here, our session, you can come in and learn some of these things, at your own pace. You can come in and learn some of these things. That's a good thing as well. So once we do that, that's when you can, like I said, blossom even more and sharpen your skills up, and come in and talk to us. Like I said before, we're approachable. I mean, that's why we're doing this. So we can, kind of promote the fact that we're here. It's no money. I mean, it's no charge to you. And we want to be, that's, to end this up, we want to bring more people in, more business, people in the business world in to run. If it's not at 12 to 1, we'll do our 12 to 1. We'll do it another time and fit your time. I mean, we want your voice heard, not only ours. I mean, we just do it. I mean, we do it because this is what we like to do. But we want to promote, Collective Foundations, some collective. Also, we want to promote you giving good business skills out here to other people. I'm not the only business owner, like I said before. I'm gonna listen too. When you come in, I'm gonna be listening just like you, like everybody else would be. To learn. But I think that's what, definitely, and this is a biblical term, iron sharpens iron. So if you're doing something good in business, and I'm like, man, I like to use that, but then go ahead and use it. I mean, that's fine, one of the things, but never be afraid to learn new things. That's why, like I said, hit the QR code. There's definitely different social media platforms on there. Also summitcollective.org. There you can drop us a line, leave me a message. The numbers on the bottom is 304-894-4653. Text, call, whatever you need to do. Say, you want a spot. I mean, you can have a spot. And I don't tell you directly what you talk about. We do talk about business skills and things like that, kind of grow things like that. But come on there, like I said, come on here for an hour and talk to us. I might not be here. Somebody will be here around the table with you, like I said, we got a little table now, but we're going to go back to the other style whenever camp's over. But that's one of the things. I want to thank Ellen McCrae and Mike, definitely for running it again. Like I said, they've been there they've been there since it started. So that's a good thing as well. And we're going to continue to do that. So like I said, drop us a line, and I'm gonna let Mike finish, and then he might have a little something to leave you with.
So we didn't get through all of it. So the other one, so in all, okay, you had the 5, I'll say we'll give you. How to stand out in a competitive job market. 1, just find some way to stand out. That can be from the skills that you have, the personality that you have. Find what you're good at and use that to stand out. Build your personal brand. Then we have your resume. Make sure your resume is up to par. One thing I did want to add in there for the younger people, if there are any younger people watching, if you don't have any job experience, I know that's something that a lot of younger individuals struggle with when trying to make their first resume. If you don't have any job experience, then at that point in time, you can use school projects you may have done, volunteering experience, even chores or babysitting experience you may have, which babysitting is a job, or helping elderly, anything like that, any type of odd job. All of that, or even extracurriculars like sports and things that you do inside of school, clubs and things. All of that can be used inside of there.
Grass cutting.
Absolutely.
Yes.
The fourth one, your online presence and doing things like LinkedIn and things like that, making sure you do have some type of business profile. And then the last one would be how to network, get good at networking, which I think the next time that I do lead this, I will probably go over networking the entirety of the time. And that'll be all from me. All right, so I thank anybody that may have joined. Like I said, like he said, feel free to reach out. Feel free to come in person, hit the QR code to see other things that we may have going on. And I look forward to seeing anybody. Well, I'll say each and all of it.
That's right. Have a blessed day.